Good morning. I'm not going to do anything to show you, especially today. I'm just going to visit, and I just want to say I'd like to put more of an ending to the video I made the last week that you saw. A man, well, maybe you'll see this tomorrow. Anyway, whenever you see this, it's a different, I want to give an ending to the man who called himself Swede. I told when I was a child that I discovered him hanging in our barn, and when I was older, my folks told me more of the story of his life. When he was a young man, he dreamed of coming to America, and he saved his money, and his dream was, he was engaged, that he would come to America, that he would earn enough money here to get settled and to send for his bride-to-be. Well, dreams don't always turn out the way we think they should, and when he got here, everything took longer than he thought, to find a job, to get settled, even to save money. In the meantime, his bride-to-be, his fiancée, probably didn't have quite the same dream as he did, and maybe she didn't even want to come to America. Anyway, she fell in love with someone else and got married and stayed in Sweden, and it changed his whole life and the way he went. And I don't know if that played into what happened to him, but it certainly was a regret in his life that he never got over. And then actually, what I want to also tell you about, and I've told you a little bit in the past, that I took care of I hope I don't get emotional here. I took care of my parents for the last 7 years of their life. They treated my dad for prostate cancer, but when they operated on him, they found out that he didn't have it. But he did have a cancer, and it was probably more like that asbestos-caused cancer. But anyway, my mother really was harder to take care of. My father was quite easy, and he really died before he had any pain from the cancer. At least he never complained. He was really easy to take care of. He was a joy. One of the things my father used to say was, "I'm ready to go to heaven, I just don't want to go today." But my mother had, earlier in her life, people called her Sunshine. My mother whistled and whistled merry tunes, and she was brightened people's lives. But when she was either in her late 50s or early 60s, she was prescribed some medicine, and it didn't do well. And the next 9, 10, 17 years, maybe 16, along in there, 16, 17 years, her life was miserable. And when this first happened, I can remember at the time we were living in Oregon, not far from where Jim and Renda lived. And we were living there. My folks were in Idaho. When we moved in 1968 and bought a ranch in Idaho, we deeded them, I think, 5 acres at the end of our property near the river. It was a wonderful, picturesque spot. But anyway, they stayed, we moved on, and anyway, my mother had taken this medicine that just caused havoc. And we were in Oregon, and at that time we had 4 children. Our youngest one has been killed in the meantime, but we had 4 children, and they were all working, and there was an extra one in the house. So there was 5 of them. They all had different work shifts. I think there was 2 on days, but they didn't start at the same time. 1 on swing and 2 on graveyard. And I'm the kind of mom that when my kids went out the door, they went out with a good breakfast. They started with a good breakfast. So I got up to fix some breakfast. That meant if he was going to walk out, well, he probably got up at 4. I don't know. It was early. But anyway, I got up to get him breakfast. So I had to get up a little bit before 4. And then the next guy on day shift came later. But anyway, also when they came home, they had a hot meal. So I was just almost around the clock, but by midnight I was crawling into bed, and my mom would call me between 1 and 2 in the morning for days, and she was threatening suicide. And I would talk to her and talk to her and talk to her, and then she'd settle down. I'd just be shaking when I went to bed. And it happened over and over. I can remember one time I said, okay, I'm going to call my mom before I go to bed, and maybe she won't call me at 2 in the morning. It didn't work. I still got the phone call at 2 in the morning. Well, I asked her once in all of this how she was going to do it. Well, that gave me a little bit of peace when I found out how she was going to do it. I don't know if I should tell you, but she was going to get in the freezer. That's how she was going to do it. Well, I had a hard time imagining my mom taking all of their meat out of their freezer. They raised a beef every year, taking all of this beef out, crawling in, getting the door shut. I don't know. Anyway, even though it gave me a little bit of peace of mind that it was not really going to happen, it was still hard to go through. So anyway, there were some nice doctors out there that finally found something that gave my mom relief, and she had wonderful relief for 9 years. And then, you know, doctors move on, things change, and all of a sudden it was different. And so again, we went through that struggle. And as I watched anyway, I'm sorry. As I watched different medicines to be prescribed, not subscribed. I want you to subscribe, but and you probably won't after this. Anyway, when I watched all of those prescription medicines and what they did, I came out of that experience with, we don't take prescription drugs, and I don't want to. And some of them were just so bad. I can remember one of them they gave her, and I called and I said, she can't handle this. This is just beyond. And of course they stopped it then, but she had this pill box that we had to, you know, put this so many in each day and hour, and so I like doctors. I think they're necessary. They do a good job on fixing broken bones and taking tests and emergencies, and what would we do without them? And I've had doctors that have been personal friends, but I do not want to take prescription drugs. So with that messy video, I am sorry. I didn't mean to get emotional. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Swede. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my mother, and no, she never committed suicide. And she died quite peaceably in our home. My goal was, when my mother died, she would have no bed sores to take to heaven with her, and she didn't. We had a hospital bed. We had sheep. I had made a couple of sheepskin, and that's wonderful to lay on, and so that was in my mother's bed. So I'm going to close with that on a bad note. I'm sorry. And I'm making vinegar water. I'm going to put some honey in it. I talked about that the other day. I'm going to do it. And my other pitcher, I've got plans for my cute little pitcher over here. I'm going to fill that too, but not with the vinegar. So I'm going to let you go. Please have a good day. And enjoy life. Be ready to go to heaven, but maybe not today.